What's that?
Like, in your gut, do you think that fight will ultimately end up happening?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it since the beginning, and John Jones agreed to do the fight. So John Jones was offered the deal and accepted the deal.
But, there was a back and forth. They got him that money. They finally got him that money. And he said yes.
John Jones has finally accepted to fight against Tom Aspinall in the upcoming months after a huge paycheck was offered to him. On the other hand, Chael Sonnen explained that Tom Aspinall recently said he has a fight lined up, but he cannot reveal who it is, only that it is not John Jones. This was not an official UFC announcement, but it shows where things stand. Sonnen believes that if the UFC had truly moved on from John Jones, they would not keep it quiet. Instead, they would likely go public, saying John made difficult demands, that they met those demands, and then John still turned the fight down. After that, they would let the public respond and try to use pressure to change John's mind. Since that has not happened, Sonnen thinks the UFC has not fully given up on making the John Jones fight. Aspinall hinted that the UFC is moving forward without John, possibly toward a fight with Cyril Gane, even though he did not say Gane's name directly.
We're told by Tom Aspinall that he has a fight, that he can't say who it is, but he can say who it's not, and that it's not John Jones. This isn't an official announcement made by the UFC, and generally if the UFC got to the spot with John Jones, or in the office they know we're not going to make the fight, we're not even trying anymore, they move on, and in this case they would go to Surreal. Tom is revealing for us that that's the step that we're at. He didn't say the name Surreal, but he said we're moving on absence of Jones. If the office was to that point, I don't believe that the office would keep that quiet. I believe the office would have first come out publicly and said, John had demands that were crazy. We met those demands. He then refused the fight, and they would let it simmer for just a minute, and they would see if public opinion and pressure could sway John into doing a contest that he otherwise wouldn't have.
However, Rampage Jackson talked about how John Jones seems more focused on his legacy and making a lot of money than just being a fighter. He said he doesn't blame Jones for wanting big payouts, but he pointed out how fighters in his day didn't care about rankings or legacies, as they just loved to fight and never turned down a match. Rampage thinks today's fighters are more like athletes than true fighters. He believes Jones will retire unless Dana White offers him something huge, like $35 million for a fight against Aspinall. In his opinion, the fight probably won't happen.
Hey Rampage, how do you feel about John not defending his belt? Why is he so entitled?
I don't give a f about John. no, but that motherfucker, he's more worried about his legacy than just being a fighter, and that motherfucker holding out for a whole lot of money. I can't blame him for that part, holding out for a whole lot of money, but you know what I'm saying? Back in my day in fight, we didn't give a f about no legacy, like what ranking and shit you is. We like to fight. We love to fight. These new age fighters, they're athletes. They're not, a lot of them not fighters and hard. You know what I'm saying? You know, we fight and we never turn down a fight. We didn't hold out like that. So that's a whole nother shit.
So you don't think Jones Aspinall doesn't happen?
I don't think. I think John Jones is gonna retire unless Dana ups like 35 million or something like that.
What?
Moreover, Francis Ngannou talked about how MMA negotiations can be manipulative, with people claiming a fighter is avoiding an opponent out of fear when it's really about business. He mentioned John Jones being in a powerful position, since Aspinall needs the fight more than Jones does. For Jones, the only real benefit would be financial, while for Aspinall, a victory would solidify his place in the division. It all comes down to what each fighter has to gain from the matchup.
They use that in the negotiation to say, oh no, he doesn't want to fight this guy, he's scared, and then that's how the machine works. And he's in the position to claim what he wants. As he said, Aspinall need that fight, I don't need it. And when you look at it, pretty much true. There's nothing that he's going to make winning that fight if it's not money. But for Aspinall, which is someone coming and trying to cement his way in the division, that will be everything.
However, Dana White stated that John Jones has agreed to fight Tom Aspinall, though the contract remains unsigned. He reiterated his confidence that the bout will happen, dismissing rumors and social media speculation as unreliable.
What's that?
Like, in your gut, do you think that fight will ultimately end up happening?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it since the beginning, and John Jones agreed to do the fight. So John Jones was offered the deal and accepted the deal.
Yeah, just to clarify there, you said John has agreed to fight with Tom.
To clarify, you said that John agreed to fight Tom, yes?
John agreed to fight Tom?
Is that what you just said there? Before, on the last answer, you said...
John agreed to fight Tom, yes.
So but he hasn't signed a contract, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's
Well, I mean, you guys have heard me for the last however long. I said, I guarantee you this fight's going to happen. This fight's going to happen. Fight's going to happen. You guys told me the crazy shit that was going on Instagram and all these other places. But yes, I've been saying John is going to fight Tom.
White advised fans to ignore outside noise unless it comes directly from the UFC in an official announcement, comparing the situation to past unfounded rumors. He admitted he pays little attention to media chatter, often only hearing about it from fans or press during events. Despite the lack of a signed deal, White emphasized that Jones has verbally agreed to the fight, reinforcing his belief that it will ultimately take place regardless of the ongoing rumors.
There's some rumors out there that you guys had offered him his money and he turned it down.
Unless you hear it come from here or we put out a press release, don't believe any of this bullshit. It's like the Turkey stuff, you know what I mean? And everybody's saying, I know Turkey said some stuff, but unless we come out and say something, it's all bullshit. I just don't get sucked into that stuff anymore. I don't even care. I don't even listen to it. And most of the time, the shit that I hear that happens, I hear from you guys when I come to things like this. Otherwise, I don't care and I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. But yes, John agreed to fight Tom. Fact.
Moreover, Martin Tabura shared a different perspective, arguing that the holdup in confirming the matchup isn't about hesitation, but rather a deliberate strategy. He suggested the UFC and both fighters are intentionally prolonging negotiations to generate more excitement and strengthen their negotiating positions. Tybura believes this extended buildup is meant to amplify fan anticipation, ensuring the fight's market value peaks before any formal confirmation is made.
It's crazy to think what this guy is capable of and how quick that was, and where is the roof? That's the only question. Who can stop him right now? I cannot tell. I know, John Jones in his prime time maybe, but now he's might be a little bit older than, the skills might be not there. So I don't know. It's crazy where he's going to.
John and Nick speculated that the UFC could be planning a December showdown between John Jones and Tom Aspinall in Las Vegas. Though he clarified this wasn't confirmed insider information, he noted the fight would carry far greater significance if both entered as champions, but that scenario is now uncertain given the possibility of Jones being stripped due to inactivity or refusal to compete. Anik highlighted the UFC's dilemma in balancing championship legitimacy with the commercial appeal of a super fight, suggesting the promotion's next moves will determine whether this becomes a historic legacy fight or simply a high-stakes title defense.
John, does Aspinall and Jones happen in 2025? What's your gut tell you?
Yeah, I think we see it December 2025. T-Mobile Arena, Dateline, Las Vegas.
Not New York. Why not New York?
Well, John Jones fought and won at Madison Square Garden in New York last November. I'm a Boston guy. Place a dump. No, I mean, he checked that box. I'm not sure what the taxes are, but why does John Jones need to fight at Madison Square Garden? Why not fight at T-Mobile Arena in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada? You guys fucking live there. No? I don't know.
I'm feeling it, yeah.
Robert Whittaker voiced his growing impatience with the stalled John Jones versus Tom Aspinall matchup, confessing he's reached his limit with the situation. The former middleweight champion expressed exhaustion with the non-stop media frenzy surrounding the potential bout, particularly the repetitive interview questions and social media reactions. What began as an exciting prospect has now become a source of irritation for Whittaker.
Honestly, who cares now?
Yeah, true.
Like, I'm done. I'm done with waiting. It's like, yeah, it's like Elder Scrolls 6, dude. It's just like, you know what I mean? Just, you gotta have to play something else, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. And honestly, everyone nagging him and poking at him and trying to get clips and stuff is worse for me. Like, they're like, yeah, it's way worse for me. It's just, I'm done with that too.
Whittaker also raised concerns about Jones maintaining his championship status during this prolonged period without competition. While Whittaker initially supported Jones's right to defend his title on his own terms, he now believes the heavyweight champion has crossed a line. He described the current circumstances as unacceptable, especially considering Aspinall's forced year-long layoff despite being one of the division's elite contenders. Whittaker's comments reflect growing frustration within the MMA community about championship stagnation.
Done. I think.
I get it.
I don't know how Jones still holds the title. honestly. Like, I know I mentioned when we first started speaking about this many moons ago, how I was like, no one's stripping Jones. You can't do that to him. But mate, come on, you're taking the piss now. You're taking the piss now, bro. I was like, but let alone just, I don't know, how long's it been since Tom's fought last?
Man,
Poor
almost
dude,
a year. Almost a year. It's actually
guys just not
insane.
Fighting.
Rashad Evans offered a measured perspective on the situation, acknowledging John Jones's legendary career while understanding the psychological burden of protecting such an esteemed legacy. The former light heavyweight champion recognized Tom Aspinall's rising star power and the fan demand for their clash, but expressed sympathy for Jones's deliberate approach. Evans suggested Jones isn't avoiding the fight due to intimidation, but rather making a calculated decision about whether putting his reputation on the line aligns with his career priorities at this stage. The veteran fighter's analysis highlighted the complex balance between competitive drive and legacy preservation that elite athletes face.
All right, last thing. John Jones, Tom Aspinall, who you got?
I got John Jones. I think Tom Aspinall is a man, but I feel like, John Jones is just another level. He can do it in so many different ways with his striking, with his grappling, and I feel like, being in a situation, coming in a fight where he's kind of being pushed into this point, I feel.
Tom's a big boy.
Yeah, but I feel like with John's a big boy too, and John knows how to fight like a big boy. Right. One thing I feel like what Tom does really well is he moves so well, and I feel like that may give John a little bit of trouble, but I feel like John is smart enough to figure it out.
Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson praised Tom Aspinall as a deserving interim champion who has earned his current spotlight. While discussing the potential matchup with John Jones, Steveson maintained that Jones remains the true heavyweight king until proven otherwise inside the octagon. He emphasized that if Aspinall doesn't dethrone him, someone else eventually will. But for now, Jones still stands as the division's ultimate benchmark.
Well, you're a big guy. What do you think about Tom Aspinall?
What do I think about Tom Aspinall? Man, I think Tom's a great interim champion. He's a really great interim champion, and there's a lot of buzz about him right now, about him in the John Jones situation. But I feel that John has been undisputed this whole time, and I'll stand by that forever until someone else tries to do something about it. And if it's not Tom, then someone else can try too. So John is definitely undisputed right now by far.
Steveson commended Aspinall's aggressive pursuit of the fight, respecting his determination to face the best. However, he cautioned against premature criticism of Jones, noting his unparalleled 2-decade reign at the top. He expressed disappointment in newer fans overlooking Jones's legendary wins over icons like Rua, Machida, Jackson, Evans, and Cormier. Despite Jones's controversies, Steveson highlighted Cormier's undefeated record outside their bouts as proof of Jones's unmatched skill.
I like Tom in the sense of Tom's a go-getter and he's trying to fight for what's right and trying to get the John Jones fight, and I applaud that. But until further notice, until John steps in the cage, I feel like we really can't say nothing.
I mean, it's been, what, 20 years? 20 years he been on top. No one's done that.
No one. So, and we're in a new generation of social media that kids haven't recognized John's past of being that great. So it bothers me because growing up, I'm watching UFC and I'm watching John take care of business when I'm 9 and 10 years old, 11 years old. And now we got a new generation of teenagers that are just like, oh, but we're going to forget about John beating Shogun. We're going to forget about John beating Machida. We're going to forget about John beating Evans and Rampage and everybody else. And
Cormier. Sonnen, Cormier twice. Oh, he pissed dirty, they say.
Cormier's only losses are to the best guys in their weight class, like forever best guys. And so you can't discredit it. You can't. So... And do I like Tom? I think Tom's cool, but...
Coach Eric Nixick broke down the stylistic dynamics of a potential Jones-Aspinall clash, noting Aspinall's rapid hands as a key advantage. However, he pointed out Jones's elite ability to dictate range and disrupt opponents' striking, citing his shutdown of Miocic's jab by switching stances. Nixick revealed he and Aspinall have strategized avoiding Jones's lethal mid-range, stressing the need for decisive aggression to prevent Jones from controlling the fight's tempo.
What advantages do you see that he has over John Bones Jones?
I think hand speed.
I think hand speed. But what John does very well, and what we saw in the Stipe fight, is John will occupy your hands. So Stipe's one of his best weapons was always his jab. So you saw John switch to southpaw, lead hand occupy, which left Stipe with one punch, which was cross. So he was timing the cross to pull off and then was adding on. So I think when you break that fight down, I actually talked to Tom on Monday. We were kind of going back and forth a little bit on some of the game planning things. You can't be in that B range and just kind of get snake charmed by John. Let him grab your hands, let him dictate the pace, let him dictate the rhythm. You have to be hyper aggressive in those positions, and I think that's what Tom would have to do in that fight.
Joe Rogan questioned whether John Jones could physically dominate a fighter like Tom Aspinall, emphasizing Aspinall's rare combination of heavyweight size and explosive athleticism. Rogan called him the fastest heavyweight he's witnessed, surpassing even Francis Ngannou's speed, and warned that Aspinall's dynamic movement and technical precision could trouble Jones despite his legendary status.
But can he do that with a guy like Aspinall, who's a legit 255-pound natural who moves like he's 80 pounds lighter? He's a freak, man.
Yeah.
Aspinall's a freak. Like, I've seen a lot of heavyweight, even Francis, who's like the greatest, scariest power striker I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. No one's scarier than Francis. Francis does not move like Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is significantly faster than every other heavyweight. That's a real problem. That's a real problem.
Former UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez acknowledged the intriguing stylistic clash this matchup presents, praising Aspinall's skills but remaining skeptical about his chances against Jones. When directly asked if Aspinall could win, Velasquez dismissed the idea, citing Jones's veteran savvy and adaptability as insurmountable advantages in high-stakes fights.
For me, it's obviously it's the matchups. Like the matchups was what makes everything interesting. So I think it's great what he's doing.
You think he beats John Jones? Do you think he beats John?
No, I don't think he does.
Velasquez elaborated that after studying Aspinall's fights, he spotted exploitable tendencies in his striking defense. He argued Jones's analytical approach and tactical adjustments would allow him to target these flaws, making it unlikely Aspinall could outmaneuver the champion's calculated game plan inside the cage.
So me just watching him, I kind of see his pattern a little bit, and his striking, the way he comes in and strikes. I think John sees it too.
Okay.
So I think with that, just because again, he studies, man. He does his homework. He's a master at this. He analyzes things. He studies you over and over again. I think just for that reason, he's gonna know what to do. So I don't think he beats John. No.
MMA legend Georges St-Pierre hailed John Jones as possibly the greatest fighter ever, stating he'd pick a prime Jones over anyone to represent MMA's pinnacle. While recognizing all fighters eventually decline, he emphasized Jones's unmatched legacy and impact on the sport. St-Pierre also acknowledged Tom Aspinall's impressive rise, calling a potential showdown intriguing given the Brit's hunger to prove himself against the best.
You talk about legacy. Like John Jones, it's probably the best fighter that ever lives. Talk about if I have to choose someone in his prime that I put in the Coliseum hand to hand, I think it would be John Jones. It's hard to deny that.
The former champ stressed the fight's fate lies with Jones's willingness to continue competing, urging the UFC to make a worthwhile offer to bring this generational clash to fruition. St-Pierre expressed hope fans would witness the matchup, noting these legacy-defining battles between established kings and rising contenders are crucial for the sport's evolution.
However, nobody beats time, and Tom Aspinall is on a hell of a run now. So it's to see how they get a match. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. As a fan, I want to see this fight. I would like to see this fight, but I think Tom is very hungry, and it's up to John to see if he still wants to do this and if the UFC can compensate him good, because I think he deserves it. So it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Curtis Blades gave Tom Aspinall a slight 55% advantage over Jon Jones, but cautioned that defeating the longtime champion would be anything but straightforward, emphasizing Jones's elite skill set, championship experience, and fight IQ as factors that make him a constant threat in the octagon, ensuring any matchup would remain highly competitive despite Aspinall's strengths.
Now, do you think Aspinall beats him?
Yeah, I would pick him. Like, I would go 55% him. Obviously, it's not gonna be a landslide. Like, we're going against Jon Jones. He's a legend. He's got all the weapons.
Paddy Pimblett praised Tom Aspinall as one of MMA's most likable fighters, but admitted he still can't pick against Jon Jones despite his age, crediting the champion's unparalleled fight IQ and strategic mastery as the deciding factors. While he'd love to see Aspinall win, Pimblett refuses to doubt Jones's ability to dismantle opponents with flawless game plans.
Do you think the Aspinall-Jones fight happens?
It's got to happen. I was sitting next to Tom the other week at the UFC in London and talking to him about it.
How do you think that plays out if they fight?
I'll be honest, Tom's a friend. I love Tom. He's one of the coolest dudes in the whole of MMA. Even though Jones is getting old, I just can't pick against Jon Jones. The one thing I do think Jon Jones has got the best in the world and the best ever is his fight IQ. He has a perfect game plan to beat that person. As much as I love Tom and I want Tom to win, I couldn't pick against Jon Jones. It's just something I couldn't do.
So what are your thoughts on this? Share your thoughts in the comment section and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.